So after about 20 years, Nissan is finally reaching the level of sexiness that trucks need to be in modern days.
It's about time. Check it out on this episode.
So yeah, Nissan has finally moved into modern technology, looks, everything about what their truck needs to be, has to be, and will be going forward in the 2022 model. So this is a update from the facelift that they gave back in 2010, and that's insane to think about, Jacob, that it took them almost 12 years to redesign cars. I mean, you look at other brands doing stuff even within almost the same model year.
Like every 5 years almost they're changing it. And it's even crazy, you say 2010, because that's when the last time they did anything to update the Frontier. But if you count the 6 years or so before that, back to 2004, it's basically still the same truck with some minor differences. So,
I mean, if you look at even interior stuff between those model years, what's crazy to think about is you could be buying a 2019 Nissan Frontier, and just, disclaimer for you guys, we know that most customers buying a Frontier don't care about this stuff as much, but we think it is necessary in modern market. But you compare it to the older models, the interior of what you got in a 2007 is probably be the same thing you got in a 2019 model, and that's just crazy. I don't think it's a good bang for your buck, especially when you start comparing it to its competitors. You look at a Chevy Colorado and you got nice infotainment, you have a heated steering wheel, heated and cooled seats. In the Nissan, you do end up getting leather at times, but I think it was just such a junk infotainment and junk interior quality to the dash, everything on the front, basically the steering wheel control, stuff like that was very dated in the car market. But man, if you look at this new Frontier, this is exciting.
Yeah, not just from the looks, but also the interior, so we'll kind of harp on that a little bit, because they definitely have brought it into modern times. And like Josh said, if you're trying to buy a base level Frontier, you probably don't care about those things, and you know who you are. Stop typing the comment that you're thinking about, because we're telling you right now, if you don't want to buy the top of the line Frontier, then don't do it, because we know Frontier is going to have a very cheap option for its customers who've been just buying the crap out of this vehicle, and that's fine. But when the same features from the lowest trim are in some of the higher ones interior wise, and it's still not that great, and like Josh said, the competition like the Rangers, the Colorados, the Tacomas, you can get a base one, and that's fine, like really cheap. But if you want actual nice stuff, you have that option with those vehicles. But with the Frontier, you're very, very limited.
Like, I just think Nissan could own even more market share than they already currently do, based on the fact that people already like their trucks. And you could just make them a little bit nicer, because then you can start grabbing customers that are up in that upper echelon of midsize to compact trucks.
Exactly. And having these nice features, like we were looking at the Pro 4X trim on this vehicle is what we've seen Nissan put out there. And of course, you're going to put out the nicest version when you release a new vehicle, or one of the nicest. But the interior, I almost relate it to what the TRD, really any TRD trim level of Tacomas is, because I think those interiors are really nice. And this Frontier almost kind of rivals that, in my opinion, based on these pictures.
Yeah, and I think if you start talking about the Tacoma, that's another one that I think definitely needs just an update on the interior, stuff like that. Because I think Toyota has always been, if you had to pick on them, it was the tech that was on the interior of the car. I mean, you look at how they didn't even add Apple CarPlay until like the 2019, 2020 models. It's insane to me. But I think Nissan is definitely on the right track. We've seen that this truck will be sitting at this usual price point, where it'll be affordable, and will start coming standard with better features, more standard features that are available to customers, rather than having to, like what Jacob prefaced earlier, where you have to spend way more money to get nicer features. It's like we're stepping into the modernization of the Nissan Frontier, and we couldn't be more excited about where they're headed with this truck.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about the interior and the tech of this vehicle, but I think the best thing about this vehicle is the updated look. Like we said, it's been 18, almost 20 years since they've last fully updated and redesigned this vehicle, and now like how the interior looks modern, we've been saying, the exterior looks even more modern. And I love the look of this thing. And really, there's not going to be too much changes with the drivetrain. It's still supposed to have the same 3.8 liter V6 debuted in the 2020 model. Still going to tow about the same, still pretty similar horsepower torque numbers, nothing crazy about that. Which is fine because we don't need a Baja Frontier crazy truck, go jump a bunch of dunes. That's fine, even though they do have a desert runner. But just updating it and redesigning it, we'll take that for now, Nissan. Like, this is so much better.
This is like, MTV makeovers. They really needed to help this truck. And I really don't think that they could have done anything better. I think this is exactly where it needs to be. I mean, you start comparing it to where Nissan's headed with a lot of their vehicles. We've talked about it in the past, the Z Proto, what we're expecting out of what that will look like in the future. Looks really good. Some people are a little bit more skeptical, but I do think it's great. There's a pulse from the Heritage. You look at how all of the other Nissan models are being teased out, even the new Rogue. I think there's a lot of good stuff happening with them and the future where this brand is headed. But if you are somebody that's interested in something like the Frontier, or even some of our other compact trucks we've talked about in the past before, go ahead and let us know in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on the bottom, hit that like, and hit the bell to make sure you are updated and up to date on when we are sending out content.
Yeah, so Nissan is coming into new frontiers now, but that'll wrap up this episode of Gulf Coast Gearheads.